Okay, time to talk about the one of the three transcendentals today. One of the most forgotten, especially in the past, 50 years or so. And one of the key factors I think that makes our more mainline Protestant churches better, just better than your normal, Billy Bob's strip mall, Church of God, Baptist, Pentecostal, a million other different words. But essentially, our older churches understood something that we don't really get as much today. Your normal church, they put it up in a month, and it's got all the stage lighting. It has all the fog machines. It always has a rock band to put up there. They've got their areas where you can go off to the left and the right of the stage, so that way you can have your different acts coming on, so they can have this rock band and then that Christian rap band and so forth. Anyways, rambling on a little bit, but there's something about that that's just not the same. So basically, I think those churches are missing the symbolism. They don't really worry about the beauty. I guess that's pretty obvious. I'm kind of preaching to the choir here more than likely, but I think there's a lot of details that people don't really think about, especially relating to beauty and how important it is. Because just like you would hang around people because you think they're good, they do good things, right? And you would hang around people that are truthful because they don't lie to you. You should be hanging around beautiful people because that leads you to the other transcendentals. And the same concept applies to traffic, the same concept applies to your church. If your church is not trying to chase beauty, then maybe they could be skimping out on the other two. I don't know, for lack of better words in my mind. I am driving through city traffic, so it can be a little annoying and hard to think of things to say. So, for example, this one is probably my first box. If I ever go to a church, I look for this because I think it's very important. The church sanctuary has to have windows, and not just like one. It has to have a decent amount of light. It doesn't have to be, like the entire, walls are just filled with windows and there's a skylight. But especially when you have good stained glass windows, because first of all, the stained glass windows are beautiful. They cost a lot, or at least a lot more than a normal window, but they're beautiful. But then also, having windows at all, and not just having your entire sanctuary filled up with spotlights and things, you're actually letting in the natural sunlight. And, as anyone should know, light is synonymous with good, with godliness in the Bible in many places. So I think it's important that our church be filled with goodness. And what can we do, in large part, that's not really very complicated to do that. We can let in natural sunlight. What do we do what does it mean when we take that natural sunlight away? When we don't include those windows, and we are only supplying our own man-made light. I think that's pretty much us telling, or rather it's the people that are designing or building the church, telling the people going there that, in some form or fashion, we think we can do it better than God. We can provide light better than God can, you know? And there are instances where I wouldn't say that that's true, but I think it's appropriate to have that kind of lighting, a concert or something, because there are more reasons why they would need that stage lighting at a concert. Because usually they're at night. They need some form of lighting to go on during night. Fair enough. A concert's not the most godly thing to go to all the time, but I think it has its place. People want to have fun, and as long as you're not going to something that's just totally degenerate, like all forms of rap, then it's fine. Given in not excess. But as a church, we're going to be operating when the sun is out. 95% of the time, probably. So why are we not using what God gave us to illuminate the sanctuary? It's kind of a slap in the face that I don't think people are really thinking about, but I think it's very important. And then, a lot of the other biggest issue that I can think of, because I don't know what that other word was, is the architecture. So, like, for example, the whole strip mall thing, if the only way to start your church is by affording a strip mall section, you shouldn't be building a church. Because there are other ways. If you're in a big city, just maybe you don't need another church. Maybe you can go to another one. If they're all shutting down nearby, then maybe somebody can find enough money to purchase a property and create a real church. But you can't just operate out of a strip mall, because it's not there. Architecture is supposed to stir up something in your soul. It's not purely subjective, because if that was the case, anything could be beautiful, in which case somebody putting a urinal on the wall of an art exhibit could be considered beautiful. But it's not. Everybody knows it's not. It's not beautiful. It is objectively ugly, and that's partly the point. But that doesn't make it beautiful. Just because you're doing it intentionally, just because it's ironic, that doesn't make something beautiful. So there is some form of beauty that is objective. And a lot of that can be shown in ways like Gothic architecture, for example, which has lots of spires because it points to God. The whole point of all those spires are to point up to God. It has lots of symmetry, And there are other details about it that, are for an art major to tell you. I'm not an art major. I'm not even an artist, but I can understand and appreciate some amount of beauty. I don't think you need to be a genius to see these things. And to be fair, it's taken other people to point it out to me, at least to get the ball rolling. And then I just happen to consider it after the fact. But I think people really should be considering what their church looks like, because I know it's very, very Baptist to say, well, it's not about the building, it's about, if 2 or more people gather, here I am. But yes, but also when that was written, that was basically just saying this is the basis. That is, that's where it starts. But it doesn't mean that you can't do any better than just a gathering of 2 people in somebody's house. And not to mention, around the time of the Bible, rather the New Testament, you were not allowed to, rather I would say the time after the New Testament, you're not allowed to worship the Christian God, because it was outlawed in Rome, and probably other places, but just generally it was not well looked upon at the time. I think for probably similar reasons as to why Jesus was crucified, I can imagine it was not looked well upon in some circles. But we've moved past that. Christianity has been accepted for millennia. So we can do better than that, because we want to give all of our worship and praise to God. We want to give all of our effort to God. Why should we not go for gold instead of going for utilitarianism, to cram the most amount of people in there, because generally speaking, and maybe it's partly because I live in the South, but there is always another church you can go to. There is no shortage of churches that only have 20 attending members. There's a church for you. You don't have to start a new one. You know, you don't have to start some big, huge monstrosity like that. Now, I mean, that's not the most hideous church I've ever seen, but it's so modernist and utilitarian with all the steel walls, and it's just not there. I don't know. I just don't think that's it. And there are other details about churches that can be more beautiful. Like, I would say, you know, the materials they are built out of, generally speaking, I think the more wood you see, the more beautiful a church is, generally speaking, going to be. That's not 100% the case, because obviously there are cathedrals in Europe that are, don't have a whole lot of wood, but maybe they're made more out of stone, or, so on and so forth. But generally speaking, the more earthly materials are going to be better. So, yeah, sorry I have to put the phone down some. There is actually a policeman, and it is now illegal in this state to hold a phone, touch it while you're driving. So I don't have a choice. Oh, he's turning anyways. I did it for no reason. I accidentally honked the horn because I'm having to drive with one hand. So, I mean, I guess that's pretty much it. But whoever watches this, tell me what you think. Tell me why I'm wrong and we should be going to ugly churches. And then tell me about other things that we need to be talking about beautifying. Because I think it's a societal thing. It's not just a church thing, but I think it starts at your church. If your church isn't beautiful, you should be helping to remedy that. We're going to a different one. Okay. Goodbye.